Welcome to all of you. It's great to be with you for this webinar titled Optimization of Colostrum Management Defines Your Future Herd. My name is Hanne Skovsgaard Pedersen. I have a background as a veterinarian and researcher, and I work as a veterinarian in the Danish company ColoQuick. In ColoQuick, we focus on the production of high-performance dairy cows by ensuring an optimal colostrum management and an optimal start for the calf. I'm looking very much forward to this webinar and to spend some time with you guys. To get started, let me present the plan for today's webinar. The first question to answer is whether or not colostrum is important to your calves. You can start considering your answer, and I'll come back to this in a moment. After this first consideration, we'll take a look at key performance indicators in calf rearing, and with that, I'll present to you why it's still relevant to consider and improve the routines around colostrum. Next, I will talk about what to focus on if you want to work on your colostrum routines and present to you ColoQuick suggestion for an on-farm precision tool for managing colostrum. Ready for that? Perfect. Let's move on. It's a stormy and rainy day and our newborn calf needs protection. So, to the question, is colostrum important? Yes, sure it is. And why is that? It's because the newborn calf is born with no antibodies from its mother and with an immature immune system, and therefore it needs protection from antibodies in colostrum in order to have a good health, high growth, and a sustainable future performance. However, I want to challenge you on this question and answer no. Colostrum in itself is not important. What is important is to feed high quality colostrum and to handle your colostrum in an optimal way to preserve the antibodies and other bioactives in colostrum. And we need to remember we have just one chance to succeed. Before we continue talking about calves, let's travel into the future to the time when the heifer calf has turned into an adult dairy cow entering the milking parlor on your farm. This figure is a herd lactation curve showing the milk production, in this case from first lactation cows from a random herd. On the x-axis, you see the days in milk, and on the y-axis, the milk production in kilogram. The red line is the goal in this herd, and the blue line is the achieved average. Each dot represents a cow, and what we see is a huge variation in production between cows in this herd. The milk yield varied from around 50 kilogram and down to 20 kilogram. What parameters influence on cow performance? Genetics is of course important, but what we also know from many years of research is that feeding, health, and growth during the calf's first 2 to 3 months is extremely important to determine the quality of the animal and to shape the calf's future performance. Increasing the average milk production in the herd by decreasing the number of low-producing cows would have an impact for you as a dairy farmer and for your company's finance. So, let's have a look on the status of some of the key performance indicators from the calf production. This figure shows you the destiny of heifer calves born alive in the US. It's not a straightforward figure to make, but this is my suggestion based on written sources and personal communication. What you see from the figure is that around 15% of the live-born heifer calves don't reach first calving, either because they're dead or because they're slaughtered. Another 24% of the live-born heifer calves don't reach second calving. Considering the fact that the cost for raising a heifer calf is around $2,000 US, the heifer has paid back around second lactation. So, it might be interesting to consider if we could, first of all, increase the quality and the longevity of the animals, And 2, perhaps be better at selecting the heifer calves with the highest potential for our future herd. This figure shows data from a US publication from 2018 looking into the transfer of passive immunity of calves after the first colostrum feeding. This survey included around 1,600 dairy heifer calves. The calves were grouped according to their passive transfer from very low to very high, as described by Lombard and as shown in this table. A question for you, and please take just a few seconds to consider the answer. Approximately what percentage of dairy heifers in this survey were badly immunized, meaning that they were grouped as very low or low regarding passive transfer of immunity? Please take a few seconds to consider your answer. Are you ready with an answer? The correct one is 39%. 39% of the future dairy calves were poorly immunized. Only slightly more than a third of the heifer calves, exactly 36% shown in green here in the figure, were grouped in the very high group. These figures are from the same study as you have just seen, but now the figures show mortality and morbidity of the heifer calves. To the left, you see the mortality having decreased from 11 to 6% from 1992 to 2014. If you look to the right, showing the pre-weaning morbidity, we don't see a decrease from 1992 to 2014. Around 1/3 of the heifer calves experience at least one disease pre-weaning. To sum up, more calves survive, although we still need to improve. However, we still have an issue regarding morbidity. Sick calves reduce efficiency of your production, increase the use of antibiotics, and have a negative impact on future cattle performance. So, from data regarding passive transfer, mortality, and morbidity, let's have a look on the growth of the calves. This figure is from the same 2018 study and is looking into the growth from around 2,000 heifer calves. On the x-axis, you see the age of the calves in days, and on the y-axis, you see the weight in kilogram. Each dot represents a calf. And as we saw in the herd lactation curve, there is a huge variation in calf weights. In this study, the average daily gain when the calves were 2 months of age was 700 grams. We know from research that if we want to produce healthy calves with a sustainable future performance, we should aim for an average daily gain of at least 1 kilogram per day the first 2 months of life. Improving calf management and increasing the average daily gain would improve the quality and future performance of the calves. In terms of our calf production, we still have room for improvements. Every month, new scientific papers are published showing the exact same challenge around the world regarding colostrum management and calf management in general. So, in the attempt to meet this challenge and improve production results, let's get back to where it all starts with the newborn calf. It's born into a rough environment with a lot of challenges that has a huge impact on her future performance. Regarding colostrum management, we need to pay attention to 3 focus areas. 1, colostrum quality. 2, time from birth to feeding. And 3, hygiene. The quality of colostrum is determined by the antibody concentration. The concentration varies from one fresh cow to another, but can easily be measured with a Brix refractometer. This morning, we had 3 calvings. The fresh cows were milked, and now we need to find out which of these colostrum portions we can save in our colostrum bank. When I go out on farms, I often hear that we can evaluate colostrum quality by looking at the color and viscosity. However, there is no strong correlation between color, viscosity, and the antibody concentration, and it's extremely difficult to explain to your employees exactly what color and viscosity they should choose. My recommendation is to use a refractometer. The refractometer is easy to use and gives you colostrum quality as a numerical value. That way, you always store and feed the very best quality colostrum available in your herd. Be aware that colostrum quality is dynamic, meaning that you may need to adjust the cutoff value from time to time. When feeding colostrum, the time from when the calf is born and until it's fed colostrum is crucial. Here, you see a calf being fed colostrum. The colostrum flows down into the abomasum and further into the intestines. To illustrate what happens with the antibodies in colostrum when it arrives in the intestines, take a look at the perforated spoon. And we are not going to make soup, but instead imagine the spoon being the intestinal wall, and if you feed colostrum immediately after the calf is born, you see all the antibodies traveling through the holes, being absorbed to the blood and protecting the calf. On the contrary, if you're not feeding colostrum quickly after birth, these holes will get smaller. This means that a lower percentage of the antibodies will be absorbed to the bloodstream to protect the calf. If you like figures more, this is a figure showing exactly the same. On the x-axis, you see the age of the calf in hours, and on the y-axis, you see the antibody absorption. You see a decrease in antibody absorption if you don't feed the calf as quickly as possible after birth. The final colostrum focus area to speak about today is hygiene. And why is that important in terms of colostrum? Again, we feed the newborn calf colostrum. This time the calf is not only getting colostrum with antibodies, but also a lot of bacteria. And because of this high concentration of bacteria in the colostrum, the holes in our spoon, illustrating the intestinal wall, are blocked, and we will see a decrease in antibody absorption and a poor protection of the calf. So, in terms of colostrum management, bacteria are bad, not only because of an increased risk of disease transmission, but also because they affect antibody absorption. So even though you feed high quality colostrum and you feed it immediately after birth, if your colostrum contains a high concentration of bacteria, it will negatively impact on production results. To keep colostrum clean, it's extremely important to handle colostrum the right way to avoid contaminating it. That means when milking the fresh cows, we need to clean the udder, we need to wear clean gloves, clean clothes, and ensure that the colostrum is collected by using clean equipment and also processed quickly. We need to avoid contaminating the colostrum, and we need to put it quickly in the freezer to avoid bacterial growth. If we want to check our work procedures, it's relevant to take out colostrum samples for measuring the bacterial concentration. What you see here are recommendations from Dairy Calf and Heifer Association 2023, telling us that the total bacteria number should be below 20,000 bacteria per mil in fed colostrum, and the coliform bacteria numbers should be below 100 bacteria per mil. If we want to make a quality control on our colostrum hygiene, it's important to take out colostrum samples from all work procedures, which mean right after milking, after handling colostrum, and also right before feeding it to the calf. In this way, you will be aware of the possible weak link, and you can go back and adjust the procedures that doesn't work optimally. Knowing that hygiene is one of the important focus areas in terms of optimal colostrum feeding, we have another tool for improving the bacterial quality of colostrum, and that is pasteurization. When pasteurizing colostrum, it's important that we reach the perfectly right time, which is 60 minutes, and the perfectly right temperature, which is 60 degrees Celsius or 140 Fahrenheit. And why is that? Because this is the time and temperature where you kill the bacteria, but you preserve the antibodies. If you go above 60 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes, you will destroy the antibodies. And if you go below 60 degrees Celsius, you will decrease the bacterial kill rate. It's important that you check your equipment to know the exact pasteurization temperature and time interval. And regarding pasteurization, be aware that pasteurization doesn't make dirty colostrum clean, meaning that good hygiene will always be the key issue. Maybe this talk has inspired you to consider and evaluate on your work procedures around colostrum, And if so, I now want to continue with presenting to you the ColoQuick system and how it ensures systematic and simple work procedures and an optimized colostrum management. Let me guide you through how this system works. We have a calf being born, but now we have perfectly good colostrum stored in the freezer. So whenever I have a calf, I go to my freezer, I take one portion of perfectly good colostrum with high quality. From here, I go to my thawing unit, I put the cartridge into the water bath and I heat it for 20 minutes. The rotation of the colostrum bag during heating initiates movements of the frozen part back and forth inside the bag, and this will speed up the thawing process and ensure that the colostrum is at feeding temperature after 20 minutes. This means that after 20 minutes, I'm ready to feed my calf. When I have secured that my newborn calf has got perfectly good colostrum immediately after birth, it's time to focus on my fresh cow. Whenever she's ready, I will push her to the milking parlor where I have clean equipment to milk her. After milking colostrum, I will check whether the quality is good enough to store, and if it is, I'll put the colostrum into a clean, disposable bag inside the cartridge. If I choose to pasteurize, I will do that at 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 minutes. The software and interval rotation of the colostrum bag during pasteurization ensures precise temperature control of the whole colostrum batch, both in the periphery and in the center of the bag. After that, I can store the colostrum in the freezer for the next birth and feeding of a newborn calf. I now want to show you how the system works on farm.
Mein Name ist Sinja Peckelhoff, ich habe einen landwirtschaftlichen Betrieb in Rade bei Westlich, 300 Kühe plus Nachzucht, eine Milchleistung von über 10.000 Litern. Auf das Gerät ColoQuick bin ich aufmerksam geworden bei dem Farmers Day der Firma Holm & Laue im letzten Jahr. Mir wurde das Gerät 3 Monate zur Verfügung gestellt. Ich habe das ausprobiert und es ist auf meinem Betrieb gar nicht mehr wegzudenken. Die Vorteile von ColoQuick bestehen darin, dass das Kalb sofort nach der Geburt schnell mit Colostrum versorgt wird. Ich habe vorher auch schon die Kühe danach ausgemolken, bin mehrfach geschlagen worden und ich finde, von der Arbeitssicherheit ist es doch so um einiges einfacher. Und das Zweite, was für mich auch wichtig ist, dass ich genau weiß, das Kalb hat ausreichend Colostrum bekommen. Wenn man das bei der Kuh lässt und das Euter ist vielleicht schon ein bisschen tief, dann weiß man abends nicht, hat es getrunken oder hat es nicht getrunken. Das sind für mich die Vorteile.
It's time to end this webinar. I hope that it was useful and has increased your motivation for taking action on optimizing colostrum management on your farm. To sum up on my talk today, colostrum is essential to protect the newborn calf and to support its development. Optimizing colostrum feeding includes feeding clean colostrum with highest possible breaks immediately after birth. The ColoQuick system is a precision tool that ensures easy work procedures and an optimal colostrum feeding to all calves in your herd. Remember, you have only one chance to succeed. Thank you for joining and have a great day.